Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're doing an interesting video. We're going to look at David Gilmour's tone in Comfortably Numb, the last solo, which is considered one of the most iconic tones in guitar history and has been voted the best solo I don't know how many times. Now this video will be divided into three parts. Number one, choice of guitars. Number two, the effects and the amplifiers that we are going to use. Number three, and the most important one, the recording technique. There are many videos which I saw on YouTube which talks about the tone, and there are multiple articles which talks about myriad of effects and other things. Some of them, or most of them, go overboard in my opinion. So it's the recording technique which we'll talk about when we come to that. And before we get any further, guys, this is a new channel. We recently hit 100 subscribers and we came out with a thank you video also with a free IR. I request you to express your support if you find this video useful by hitting the subscribe button and the like button and the notification bells, because we keep on doing these guitar related geeky stuff. Now, okay, as far as the guitars are concerned, the original solo was played by David Gilmour on his black Strat, so which had the FS1 pickup. So the thing about the FS1 is it's a fat sounding pickup, and if you listen to the recording, because of the mixing and the mastering, and Gilmour has always been very clever in manipulating his sound. It sounds more like a P90 or a humbucker rather than a straightforward Strat single coil. So the choice of guitars that we have today, the Fender Strat with EMG DG1 or DG20, which is David Gilmour signature pickups, which are active EMGs. Number two, I have a Les Paul clone with again EMG PAF sounding pickups. Amazing set of pickups and an amazing guitar. I love this guitar. Number three is a Gibson Les Paul with the P90. So out of these three guitars, considering the overall tone itself that the song has or the solo has, my gut feel is, and I'm gonna go with the Gibson Les Paul with P90s on them. The reason I'm not going for the DMG or the DG20 pickups on my Fender Strat is the only way you can fatten up the sound is by turning up this switch. I think it's called EXG or some switch, which is supposed to make it fatter and sound like a humbucker. But it does take away a lot of dynamics in the process. Even David Gilmour personally, if you look at his settings in his live or through various forums like Gilmourish and other things, he doesn't go beyond 3 on the expander setting. So that's a no-go for me for this particular solo, because it has a lot of intricate bends and intricate vibratos on the solo itself. Why am I not going for the PAF sounding EMGs? It's too boxy. The solo actually sounds very wide and has its own quality, which is definitely not a humbucker. I'm going to stick to the P90, which is going to give me a fatter single coil sound, and which is going to make get out all the dynamics of the tone into the playing, which can be manipulated later, and that's where the recording technique comes in. So now what we're going to do is, let's hear out the solo, and then we'll go to the effects section, and then we'll go to the recording section. What I'm going to do in the solo is, I'm not going to play the solo note by note, neither am I David Gilmour. This video is focused only on the tone and the recording techniques. The solo will not be note to note, and I'm going to do it in a single take. So there might be mistakes which I'm not going to punch in. I'm not going to overlay tracks or anything of that sort. I'm no punching in. Just straight away one shot. I'm going to take the solo and then go into the recording technique, which is of the which is of relevance of this video. I'm pretty sure you're gonna go home taking away something from the choice of effects and the recording aspects of it. Then the playing of the solo itself, or the choice of guitars. Guitars, if you take any fat sounding single coil or even your normal single coil, it's going to work. You take any humbucker, it's going to work. But it's the choice of pedals, amps, and the recording techniques which is going to make a huge difference. So hang in, guys, and let's see what we come out of this. I'm going to just do it, and I do it for fun. So hit that subscribe button, and do let me know if I'm doing something wrong. This is an experiment, and this is pure fun. Thank you so much. So let's get into the solo. Okay, this is my only the amp simulation tone. I forgot to share that earlier. So it's kind of dirty, but it's not purely clean. So it's kind of dirty. That's the territory I am in. As far as the effects go for this particular solo, this is where the wilderness of the internet comes in a very funny way. Um, there are guys who claim that there's a flanger used, the electric mistress, the memory man, and the big muff, and a whole bunch of things. So some of the most sensible videos which I have seen basically is by Nail That Tone by I think Reverb, where the guy is very sensible. I don't remember his name. He talks about the main part about the solo is the intricacy with which Gilmour plays it, and it clearly sounds like something has been boosted. The signal has been boosted with some kind of a boost pedal, and it goes into some kind of a distortion, and which is very divided. It's a very controversial statement because the common sense or the common information about this solo is that it was played on a big muff. And if you've seen some of my earlier videos, I had done comparison of David Gilmour solos, which is basically a big muff versus a rat. And I don't know what you think, but every time I tried doing it, Gilmour's solos always go better, at least for me, with rat. So I have choice of going into my tube amps. I have two tube amps out here. I can go into my HX Storm, or I can use my analog pedal board. So what I'm gonna go with is, or rather what I have used in this recording is, I already recorded it. I'm using a Centaur clone. It's a cheap pedal, but it does a clean boost beautifully. I have a rat clone. So I kept it on the turbo mode, which is the modern mode. It gets that grunt very, very nicely. So these are the two primary pedals, or these are the only pedals I have used on the solo. Signal chain is, my guitar goes straight into the clean boost, which is coming in from my the Centaur clone. these are the exact settings. It's not too much of a drive, and I have kind of reduced the volume coming in from a boosted signal which is going into my DI box, and the recording chain from there, or rather we'll go into the recording chain when we do the recording section. From there, I have chosen not to use any of my tube amps or the HX stomp, which is counterintuitive. I have a Ibanez TSA 15H, which is very similar to High Watt. It's clean, it's a pedal platform, but I'm not using that. What I'm actually using is, I'm using the Rock Rack by, I think it's by Brainworks, yes. This is a amp sim, and I wanted to basically, enable anyone who's watching this video to recreate the tone, using some of the sources which is available easily. I think this is a free version, but I got it. I have the paid version which has come in part of the bundle with my, audio interface. So this is the first time I'm actually using it on a recording, but I found the emulation of the jazz chorus to be the most suited. It's a solid state amp, right? Jazz chorus, Roland jazz chorus is basically a solid state amp, but it's renowned for its sparkling cleans and being a pedal platform. So that's exactly what I'm using here. So my signal chain is very simple: guitar going into a boost, into a rat, going straight into my audio interface. I'm not using the DI. I'm sorry, I told DI earlier. I'm not using the DI because my audio interface has, an instrument level signal which it can take. So it's going into that, and everything that you see is basically coming in from the amp simulator. After that, any form of reverb and delay which I'm adding it basically from the plugin itself. The amp has a delay, and I'm using a Mesa 4x12 impulse response on it. And the thing about impulse response, I'll do a separate video on that. But when you're using impulse responses, you need to be very careful about using reverbs, because many a times impulse responses also contain reverbs. So that's pretty much the chain. So let's dive into the recording technique, in the next step. Okay, now to the recording technique. So far, if you have gained anything from this video, guys, please hit that like and subscribe button. Would highly appreciate it. Now, the recording technique is what really gets the tone out, for this particular solo. Now, what I'm going to do now is, let me explain what I've done. And the reason I use, now you know why I actually use an amp simulator rather than going through my HX stomp or my tube amp. Basically, I wanted to manipulate the DI signal in two different tracks, and that's precisely what I've done here. This is not double tracking. This is basically same guitar recorded, but being affected differently into two tracks. So on one track, I have my jazz chorus amp sim, which is giving me a clean pedal platform kind of a sound. It's not very gainy. It's basically taking in the signal coming in from my rat, or rather, boosted from my clone going into the rat and coming here. So it's more or less a DI signal, but after my pedal board. So that is on one channel, one track. You're hearing basically the Rock Rack, amp sim working with a Mesa cabinet, which sounds like this. So this is just a simple amp simulated kind of a heavier sound created by the rat on one track. On the other side, and this is where the whole hugeness of the sound and the rotary effect or the stereo effect that you're hearing in the solo is coming from, in my opinion. I've taken the signal. It is going through the same amp but with a slightly lower gain setting, no cabinet. And instead of the cabinet, I'm actually putting in the rotary speaker, the Leslie. That's exactly how it's claimed that Dave Gilmour recorded the solo. one channel was no, or rather one side of the guitar was actually going into a rotary speaker. That is what is creating the swirl effect in the whole solo, and it's mixed in such a way that you can't really hear it. So this is how that's. So standalone it sounds a little weird, but when I mix these two things, so this is where these two sounds blend in, and I have basically panned the rotary speaker slightly towards the right, so it's giving me an expanded sound. Now when I blend all of this together, this is the recorded sound which you hear on the track, and that's what I try to recreate. So it's a very simple sound. It's a very simple tone. It's not over engineered. Most of the guys over engineer the tone. So and it's not tough to get this tone if you're playing live also. All you need to do is get a stereo chain out of your HX Stomp or Helix or Fractal or whatever that you're using. On one side, instead of any IR, you just need to put a rotary drum or a rotary speaker. Put a Leslie in on one side and blend it in such a way that the rotary is really not heard, and you get a wide stereo effect with a swirl which the song gives. So it's as simple as that. And two cheap clone pedals. That's all I used, and Namsim. So let me know what you think, how close or how far I am from the tone. This is how I like to create the tone. So if there are better ways, please do let me know. And do like and subscribe. I'll be doing more of these tone videos. And keep yourself posted by hitting that notification bell. Thank you so much.